Hello, Cowtown. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Brent Mandelkorn, and I am the COO and co-founder, along with my partner, Alan Babazi, of Dbuntu Data. And we harness the power of data in Africa. Now, you're probably asking yourselves, how does an American like me get to harnessing the power of data in Africa? Well, I was presented with an opportunity to make an impact, a big impact, change millions of lives, change the world. You don't get many of those in your lifetime, so I couldn't pass it up. Alvin was my freshman year roommate. We were entrepreneurial minded, and he went back home. He's a third generation dairy farmer. He went back to the farm in 2015. He gave me a question. He said, Brent, how much milk do cows produce in America? I told him, 40 liters per day per cow. He comes back with an interesting fact. My cows are only doing about 6. He asked me another question. He said, is there a way we can fix it? I told him, probably. Why don't you send me over some data? That's what I got. Handwritten notes, couple of pages. Not much you can really do with that. Not a lot of analytical power. So we said to ourselves, we got to go back. We got to go look at the processes. We got to go figure out the problems. Came to a conclusion, much like most of you. Do any of you have farms? Do you have friends that have farms, especially livestock? Ladies and gentlemen, managing a farm is painful. This is what you have to deal with. You are raising athletes. They have to be at their optimal performance to make you money. You are doing a business while dealing with health, nutrition, feeding, breeding, medical, all this stuff while running a business. How is Uganda handling it? They're using notes. That's really hard. You're not going to be able to plot anything. You're not going to be able to make any decisions with that. So, Alvin and I figured it out. Our mission is to help people who want to improve their businesses, better the lives of families and neighbors, fight food insecurity by making smarter, data-driven decisions. I'm not just talking about the producers. I'm talking about the governments, the NGOs, the support services to these industries, all lacking data-driven decision-making in Africa. Dbuntu's first solution, an electronic record-keeping, mobile, and farm management solution. What do we provide? We provide record-keeping. We provide visualizations. We provide insights to best practices, support to outside services, all with a unique combination of features fit for the African market. Now, I would like to show you a little demo of our beta that we are currently using on 3 farms in Uganda.
Uganda, everyone.
And welcome to Dbuntu Data for Agriculture,
Africa's simple mobile record-keeping and farm management solution.
We are dedicated to helping farmers in Africa make smarter, data-driven decisions.
We encourage the farmers to begin using the application by making 2 simple inputs, like how much milk they produced that day and how many cows they milked. Now, if the owner is off-site, he can see the production for the day and average production per cow anywhere in the world. The owners can visualize trends over time and make strategic decisions like feeding, breeding, and culling when they aren't even on the farm. Other simple inputs include milk sales and expenses. This gives the owner the opportunity to monitor his finances and check his bank account to make sure the right amounts were withdrawn and deposited. He can compare his revenues, expenses, and profits between days in the daily report, or look at them over a longer period of time in the performance charts. Additional analyses of customer and cost distribution are available as well.
I know some of you probably don't believe that a farmer in Uganda is going to have access to a smartphone or computer or have any idea of how to use one. Well, we developed an even easier way to make data inputs. Most Ugandans are familiar with mobile money, and the technology behind it is called USSD technology, available on all feature phones. With this technology, data entry is made easy for everyone by following a few simple instructions. Maybe a farmer really wants to focus on his financial operations and streamlining his payments, so he can purchase the Financial Pro package, which includes asset management, vendor and employee payment processing, and a financial generator. Or maybe the farmer wants to focus on improving his cow's production in which case he can purchase the Improvement Pro package, where he can evaluate his cows on an individual basis or by group and track their genetics, feeding, and medical history. Dbuntu even provides additional insight like when a cow has deviated from its expected production curve. We want to drastically increase the average Ugandan cow's milk production from 6 litres per day to 12 litres. Join us on the road to optimization.
So that's our beta on 3 test farms currently in Uganda. We're currently rolling out features every 2 weeks on our internal test servers for our full launch this summer. And we've also got customers in the pipeline ready to accept the application. But you're probably wondering, who's going to use this application? Why do they want to? Well, they have to be incentivized, right? So these are your farmers. These farmers are making money by selling excess milk. I'm talking about your large subsistence, your small commercial, your medium commercial farms. I didn't mention large commercial because they're already using those complex electronic farm management systems that I know you all want to ask me about. But we understand that each farmer's journey to optimization is slightly different. So we account for that. This is John. John uses the basic package. The basic package is simple features, right? He wants to get his feet wet in the data realm. He wants to understand the problems on his farm so that he can move up to the higher tiers. This is Mr. Kavuya. Mr. Kavuya is a business farmer. Not uncommon in Uganda. Farming is a side job to him. He lives in the city and is infrequently on his farm. He needs payment processing so he can pay remotely his vendors, his workers. He also needs to be able to make decisions remotely. The mobile comes in here. This is Felix. Felix is that on-farm farmer. He's the guy who's looking to improve production. He's making decisions based on his feeding, genetics, and medical records. So, conservatively, what does this do? Well, with all this combination, 50% increase in milk production across the board. Based on more efficient allocation of resources, 20% cost reduction on a per liter basis. And finally, 50% time saving by making better data-driven decisions as well as distributed record keeping. But I want you to think about 50% increase in production. Think about that across the country. What that can do for what the World Food Program says is a country that's undernourished by 400 calories per day, per person. Huge impact. But we want to sustain our impact. And we know that Ugandans, like most, value what they're paying for. And so we've developed a simple subscription revenue model to account for that. The revenue model is based on different sizes of farms so that the farms can pay what they need. Also, the relative benefit that they're getting. The higher packages, the more benefits, the more features. But you're probably asking, how are we going to get these farmers? Well, this is our first method right here. You're looking at it. These are our agents. These are our people on the ground going to farms, telling them the importance of data-driven decision-making, as well as how to use the Dbuntu application. And then we have our influencer farms. These are the farms that exemplify the Dbuntu message. These influencer farms are part of cooperatives. Farming is a community. And to do that, we bring them together. We want them to show each other how they're improving, how they're making better data-driven decisions. Thirdly, we have services that are using our data, so they need their clients to use it. We're talking about consultants. Consultants need our data, so they're going to encourage their clients to use that, our users. But dairy is only about 1% of Uganda's GDP. Agriculture, 37%. Huge market. I think you see where I'm going. Data solutions for dairy, Uganda, $200 million. All of agriculture, $1 billion. East Africa, $15 billion. So where does that put us? Well, we're really excited to be launching this summer. Starting 2019, we'll be doing our partner services, and we'll have 700 paying users. Over the next 3 years, 2 sectors, so swine and beef are currently our prospects because of the similarity of the applications, and 2 countries, Tanzania and Rwanda, because of their close proximity to Uganda, as well as their similar market demographics. All in all, $6 million in revenue and 7,000 users in 5 years. So what do we need to do with that? How do we get there? $100,000. For salaries, product development, customer acquisition. I want you to remember, this is Africa, and money goes a long ways. So, we've specifically developed a Uganda-centric team to develop and execute on this product. We have 4 native Ugandans, 2 of which own these influencer farms that we're talking about. We have an African data specialist, and we have an African management and team management specialist. Alvin and I work on strategy, and I am the COO and solution architect. But I've been hinting at it throughout. We're not just in it for the producers. We're in it for everyone. We aggregate data. The end game, the one-stop data center for Africa. We want to give governments, NGOs, and these service partners the opportunity to make data-driven decisions from data that they're lacking right now. Ladies and gentlemen, we are Dbuntu, data for Ubuntu, which in sub-Saharan Africa translates roughly to the spirit of humanity. We're data for humanity. Humanity gives you people, people bring you prosperity. My name is Brendan Mandelkorn, and we are Dbuntu. And for those that don't know, that's what the logo means. We'll take questions.
Good job on your presentation.
Thank you.
I admire your effort to increase production in Africa. I think that the more that the African continent and those communities can depend on their own resources, they become self-empowered. So that's great. You mentioned something in your presentation, and I guess this is my question. You know, you've gone through all this impressive work to create this impressive app that aggregates data so people can be more productive. So I'm curious, what is happening in the US or Europe or other productive continents? Because if yours is good, wouldn't it be a global app? Or conversely, if one already exists, and I know you're smiling because you have an answer, but if one already exists, I guess they wouldn't, I don't know why they wouldn't take their app, but I like the idea is that if you went through all this work and you created this product, rather than limiting yourself geographically, just spread it to all of the businesses who need it.
It's a very good question. So right now, in these really productive countries, these apps are very complicated, and they're missing key components for the African market. I'll give you one. A lot of production is going towards automation, right? But Uganda's labor is so cheap that they're still using individuals. So we have a special feature, our SMS and our USSD features, that are not included in other applications right now. Also, because of the complexities, they have to bolt on additional financial kind of business thinking. Because we have these business farmers right now, we have to integrate that to meet their needs. And so with regards to that, and the aggregation side of things, farmers in America don't like people having their data. It's just a cultural thing. They're afraid of the Monsantos, of the John Deeres, and taking over. And so with that, they don't really aggregate data. And all of their systems are isolated compared to ours, which is integrated in the cloud.
I think that would be an interesting challenge to overcome because I would think that your app is applicable across the board. The other thing is data the main reason why the cows aren't productive, or are there other reasons like resources?
So the main reason is they don't know when to allocate resources because of the data. These commercial farms that we're talking about, they have the means to buy these extra supplements, but they don't know what the effect is. They don't know how to implement them. So for an example, in the dry season, protein goes down, but farmers aren't aware that they need to be increasing their protein and by what amounts to compensate for that production. Hope that answers your question.
It does, thank you.
Anybody else? Oh, we're going in. I didn't know if we're going all right, so I'm asking. Right, we're just sort of jumping in. Sorry. Great presentation. Great energy, great passion. I'm still left a little bit like trying to get my arms around what the product is. Is it like QuickBooks for farms, in a sense, right?
Sure. So A very kind of simple way to put it, it's a small ERP, simplicity, mobile, and designed for dairy farmers.
Got it. So it's a little light, and that's not meant as a bad thing. It's a good thing. It's meant to work on small devices without super duper computing power, mobile, easy. Got it. And I do think it sounds like this is extensible well beyond, and it just seems when I was thinking about the one slide you had, it was data, 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 data. How do you get it from beyond the farm to everywhere else? Like, how do you make that jump? So that's part one of the question. And part two is, it's a $100,000 convertible note. What does that get you? Like, what? It's a bridge to what? Like, what comes next? What are the plans for more funding? And then what? Because you always have to ask this question. Sometimes getting to a level of sustainability, profitability is great, but then what? If you're an investor, usually you want a return on your capital, not the cash flow from running the business. So what does an exit look like for something like this?
Great question, and I'll let Alvin answer that one.
I guess I can answer the first one, and then you answer the second. Can you hear this?
I can hear you, but I don't know. Yeah.
So, just what was the first question exactly?
Just how do you go to this next bit of, like, I saw that one slide again with like data, and your,
Right.
so how does it scale to other areas outside of the farm?
All right, so essentially, there's multiple ways we can do this. We, because of the uncertainty necessarily in the market, we could technically stay within dairy and focus on growing to different countries first, but at the same time, there's a lot of parallel aspects of that application that can transfer to swine and beef, as well as also moving down the value chain of dairy. So we can then move to the middlemen and the processors. There's a lot of things happening in India right now, and a lot of technology that have gone that direction that we could then adopt. So it just depends on where the stickiness is and where the largest impact is going to be in the market particularly.
And so to transfer to your markets to kind of get there, we've seen interest in logistics, right? So what he was talking about working down the value chain, you're seeing these, these basically milk collectors that really want their information. They want to know what prices are, how much am I going to be getting from my value-added producers? And then when we talk about healthcare, there's a big movement out there about ERMs and things like that. So what we're going to do with the $100,000 is we're going to sustain the business. We're going to focus on dairy, aggregating dairy data, as well as beef and swine. And then we should be self-sustaining, and then we're going to look to make that jump. What's the exit strategy look like? Well, optimistically, we're looking at an IPO in about 10 years to be in at least 2 industries and many, many agricultural sectors.
So we had one of our startups at our accelerator started with a business model similar, and then they suddenly discovered that data was the moneymaker. So who would buy your data? Because the farmers are going to be using it. We understand that, and that's the amazing part. But who wants your data?
Great question.
Yeah.
All right, so there's already been a lot of interest in data. I mean, my mother is an international development specialist, and so she literally gets data for World Bank, a lot of NGOs. And so a lot of people, before you're going to allocate $1 billion into aid in Africa, you want to go collect a lot of data. So you're going to spend $50 million trying to collect data on where the food pockets are, where the production inefficiencies are. So all those kind of groups of people, NGOs, are really very interested in knowing all this kind of information. And so we're taking a different approach. We're going bottom up. We're really trying to get these tools embedded into the system of the infrastructure, and also adding value to the people so that they're consistently using their applications, they're increasing their productivity, it's bettering their livelihood, as well as providing a steady stream of information. And so we really do have to be disciplined in our approach to going about this, because we don't want to end up doing
And the
opposite.
NGOs call you.
Exactly, but it's already
We're looking
happening.
for
It's
info.
already happening.
To give you a tangible example, the data that I have for agriculture, for dairy in Africa, is all the way back to 2008. That's the most recent data we have on an aggregated level. We are customers of our own data.
Yeah. Good job.
Please join me in thanking the team from Trinity